What's going on, Pro Cutters? Over here at the in-laws house, and we're getting ready to uncrate the Hawk 250 dual sport motorcycle. Subscribe. All right, first things first, cut off shrink wrap, and then it's got three packaging straps and got some aviation snips. They're heavy duty vinyl. Shrink wrap off, the cardboard's off. Now we can see what we're working with here. Looks like we got a tiny bit of rub damage here, but no big deal because I'm going to be deleting that part anyway.
What's that, John? Where's the damage?
Just a little bit of rubbing, no big deal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then everything on this side is, it's all looking pretty good so far. I'm thinking there might be a little bit of rub on the exhaust, but again, no big deal. No big deal. So now let's get a little bit more off of here now. All right, so there's just some heavy duty wire twist ties on here. Holding the front wheel here in place. Decent looking front wheel and tire. And you got some more cardboard. Your Speedo, I'm going to go ahead and leave that wrapped up for right now. One of the front air shrouds. Cool. Oh. Put all this stuff in the pile. Then front fender, exhaust shroud, got the silica packs. All right, and to take the crate apart, you're going to need a 10mm. So I've got a 10mm and my ratchet, and I brought a battery for my impact driver and forgot my damn impact driver. So I'm going to do this all the slow way. Now up here on your handlebars, there's a crossbar, so you have to undo these, and there's two out here to take that bar off, and then these rubber washers are just scrap as well, and then put your handlebar bolts back in, and you just put them in loose so you don't misplace them. And my father-in-law had his drill, so I'm able to use it to get all these 10mm bolts out of here. And now I've got the upper portion of the crate all off of it. The loose parts, boxes are off of the crate. And so at this point, we're ready to put it up on my new Harbor Freight Pittsburgh motocross dirt bike stand, so we can work on it and assemble the bike. So let's go ahead and get it off of this pallet and up onto the stand. Now I've decided, while it's still on the crate, to go ahead and start assembling a few things so they're out of my way and they're safe. So the handlebars will get unwrapped and go up here. The gauge cluster will go up there. I can go ahead and put the turn signals on, which is just a matter of putting them in there and tightening that nut up. So just to get a few more things out of the way prior to trying to get it off of the crate. And I think I'll also lift it up and get the rear shock mounted as well. So far everything has been a 10 millimeter. On your rear turn signals, you're going to need an open end 14 millimeter wrench for these. All right, so the gauge cluster has 3 studs on the bottom and it just sets right in there. All right, so now we're going to attempt to get the front wheel on the bike so we can wheel it off. So for this one, you're going to want to enlist a helper.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
So my father-in-law is going to help me here. And
okay, I kind of figured that.
We're going to try and get this bugger on here. I'm going to go ahead and remove the brake caliper first. That way we don't have to muck about with it. And it's going to be a 12 mil. But if you take this caliper out of your way, then you don't have to worry about trying to slide that disc into it. And you can mount this tire easier. And I'm going to go ahead and put the bolts back in where I took them out.
So you don't lose them.
So I don't lose track of them. And I'm going to go ahead and use this same wire that I'm holding up the speedo cable with to hold this caliper up out of the way. All right, now we should be able to lift this up, get the axle bolt out of here. Surely there's an easier way to do this. We got a couple of 2x4s here. With the weight off of this axle, we should be able to get it out of there. So I've got the jack out of my Raptor. I put it under the frame. We've put the axle bolt back in the forks on the skid. Going to jack the back end up and hook up the shock before we try and take it off of the skid. All right, so for your rear shock mount, you're going to need a 13 millimeter and a 14 millimeter. Okay, the jack under the frame was key. You definitely need to do that. With the rear shock hooked up, pull this axle bolt back out of here. Let's see, is this of course it's the one that I left over here.
Ah, it always is.
And I didn't even need it over there. Front axle bolt, 15 millimeter. So now
comes the fun.
I'm going to lift up the front of the bike. And Dad's going to slide the stand underneath of it. We've also got to just push this right out of the way with it.
Oh, you want to get also on the concrete?
Yeah. It's good.
Oh, okay.
We're good. All right. Whew. Now, that was the hardest part of this whole deal so far.
Okay, I'll steady it while you...
Now with the bike up on the jack stand, we can go ahead and get this front tire on. Spacer on the non-disc side. So we go ahead and get the axle bolt started, and I'm going to have to take this all back off of here. I'm not greasing it right now.
Oh.
I'm just doing kind of a dry assembly, and then I'll pull the whole bike back apart and go over all the nuts and bolts on the bike. And I'm definitely glad that I took off the brake caliper, because that would have been a pain in the butt to try and do this with that on there.
it up a little. Isn't this fun?
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there needs to be more spacers on this wheel than what are on there, and they should be in the hardware box. Again, not a big deal because I planned on taking it back apart anyway. I've taken all the plastics that were pre-assembled off. I've taken the seat off. I did break a tab on my side plastic on the battery side. It kind of pisses me off. That's the back one. That's all right. The front freaking tab here, I broke that. So I'm gonna have to put some heavy duty epoxy on it. Hopefully it works. But so now I'm gonna go ahead and loosely mount my controls. I put the little breather hose on the fuel cap, and the fuel cap is actually aluminum. I thought for sure that'd be plastic. That's pretty nice. And I've seen a few other people with bikes that have a locking cap, and I'm kind of glad that this doesn't have that. There's a couple of reflectors. They go here. Of course, mine are going in the trash because I don't need no silly reflectors on there. And then you got your made in China and then off-road use only. They sell this as a street legal dual sport, but they put off-road use only on that sticker. So needless to say, these two stickers will be coming off, and the other stickers that come with it will probably never go on. Things I've found so far. It appears as though they didn't send me with all of the spacers for the front wheel. They sent one little spacer. I think this one actually goes on this side, and I need a bigger one for this side. So I'm gonna have to find out what's up with that, and that's really all I've noticed so far. I would have thought that the hardware bag would have came with it, but there's just a few little bits of hardware and springs and whatnot and grommets for putting the plastics on. So, well, I've been at it for a few hours, and I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits for today because I need to get some supplies. That way I can get back at it. Maybe tomorrow after work. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.